Hi guys, welcome back. Before I start, if you like the content of my channel, you'd like to see the channel grow, please like and subscribe. It's a small thing to do, but really helps the channel grow no end. So anyway, today we have a Grand Seiko. Now, it's been a fair bit of time since I've reviewed a Grand Seiko. This one here, though, is part of their sports collection. Now, this one, the actual reference is SBG E277G, and it's quite a brute of a watch, really. It's definitely got some bit of heft to it, you have to say. It's one of these where it just kind of, there's quite a bit going on, and it looks kind of quite cool for it. As I like a watch where you don't see everything first time around, and obviously with this dial and bezel arrangement there is quite a bit going on. Even when it comes to the dial, you don't notice straight away. But before I start, I've got to say a massive thank you to Ryan and the team over at Francis & Gay of Coventry for allowing me to review this watch. Tons of stock. They've got a big Grand Seiko display in there, so if you're in the Midlands area, well worth popping in and saying hello. So if you're a bit further afield, don't worry, I'll leave a link in the description below to their website. So anyway, let's talk sizes. The case size is 44mm, but I must admit it does wear a bit smaller than that, because if you notice the taper which goes on the side, as you can see, it does taper in quite a bit. Actually at the base it's more like 40mm. It's quite strange the amount it actually does kind of taper out to as it goes up. The thickness of the watch I'm getting at 15mm, and the lug to lug I'm actually reading about 50.4 or so, but they do state 50.8, so it's got a bit of a distance on the lug to lug there. But as you can see, these actual lugs do dive down, so it does sit quite nicely on the wrist. The bracelet size on this is 21mm, so a bit of an oddball one there, but there you go. Now, as we look at the dial of this one, it does look high end. There's no ifs or buts there. Where you've got the kind of reflection going on these hour markers. Now, actually, when you look at them closely, they're machined across the top and the sides are polished. Obviously, they're all applied. You do have lume on the 12, 3, 6, and 9, as to on the hands and bezel. Now, as you can expect, it's it's part of the Seiko family. The lume is excellent. There's no shadow of a doubt there. It is really nice. The hands themselves do have this brushwork going up there, and then they bevel off into what looks like a blade on the sides of them, and it's done ever so well. I do like the GMT hand here, but for me, the star of the show is definitely that second hand. Obviously, not only the way it glides round, being that this model is actually a spring drive, but just the finishing on the center there, it is absolutely superb. Now, obviously we have a date down at the 4 o'clock position there, and as I say, this is a GMT hand here. Obviously bright red really stands out, and you can actually move it's a true GMT or traveler's GMT, I'm not quite sure how some people say it, but what that means is you can adjust the hour hand. So if you fly into a different time zone, you don't actually have to stop the second hand. You can simply unscrew the crown and move the hour hand round. If I do that now, it is a screw down crown. Does actually have 200 meters of water resistance to it, which is quite good. Now, the first bit here, I've just unscrewed it out to position 1. Now, what you have here is a power reserve. Now, it's not too bad on this one because it's not actually cut out of the dial. But one thing I do find weird is when it's fully charged all the way up, it winds all the way down, which is a bit strange. I would have thought full would have been up, and yeah, but anyway, it's a Grand Seiko thing. So as I wind a watch, check out the power reserve here, and you actually see how efficient the winding is. Oh, sorry, I've gone to now I'm on the first setting, I should say. As I go to wind it, you can see that power reserve hand moving. And that is very, very efficient how quickly it does that. Obviously, this is something you wouldn't really have to do if you've got it on your wrist. Now, talking about the actual hand, the hour hand there, obviously if I pull it out to the next position, you can see I can move the hour hand independent of actually stopping the time there. So it makes it much easier. As you can see, a date set there, boom, straight over. So that's it. So that does make life a little bit easier. Obviously, if you pull it all the way out, you go into hack mode. Just screw that back down. There we go. Now, the rest of the dial. Obviously, we have this 24-hour zone hint in here on the chapter ring. And you do get the break in colour there, obviously, from nighttime to daytime. Minimal amount of script. I like how that goes on. But one thing I didn't get at first is when you look closely at the dial, it's a bit hard on the interior lights here, but you've actually got sort of like what looks like a tree canopy going on underneath. It's one of these, it's when I first got it, I thought it was a simple black dial, but actually it's kind of like a very dark brown. It has got a heavy gloss to it, which does look really good. So it, as I say, this is one of those things you don't notice straight away, and I like when it kind of starts revealing things like that a little bit later when you start seeing it more and more. I think that is quite a nice touch. Now, the sapphire crystal on here, double domed, has got AR coating, but on the inside, but it is a lovely kind of shallow dome on there. The actual bezel, now the action is really nice. But one thing I do find a little bit strange, now being that it's a GMT, you would think that it would either move, you know, you've got the 12 segments for the hours, or even if you have half increments, you'd have that, but I'm not quite sure why it's got quite so many increments to it there. You wouldn't have thought it would need that. It's more like a die bezel, but it does obviously spin both ways on this one. Being that it does rotate means you can have 3 different time zones, which is quite cool. It's always better to have than want. So, but the actual insert here, now it's not ceramic, it's actually sapphire on here. So it's a sapphire insert with loomed pieces underneath there. And I say the action is lovely. It's got a very positive feel to it. No backplay at all. Really, really solid. You can purchase it quite easily doing like a coin edge design here on a taper. And it is done really well. It's actually got, I think it's machined on the outside, polished on the top. So it's quite nice how they did it. Now, when it comes to the case of the watch, it is really well polished. It's got the Suratsu polishing, which is equivalent to black polishing we use over here in Europe. Nice big chamfers on here. Very strong brushwork going up there. Really, really nice. As you come around here, you do have the signed crown on there. And it's one thing I do like is the way it's positioned in there. It does have kind of built-in crown guards, being but it's quite low. So it does work really well. It is quite easy to purchase. It's not too hard at all. Now, as we come around to the back, we've just got a solid case back. Now, under here is their spring drive movement, the 9R66. It's got 72 hours of power reserve, and it's got, I think it's 30 joules in there. It's very efficient. It's one of these, I can't put it on a time grapher because my time grapher won't read this. Because the simple fact is you have a constant moving second hand, which, let's face it, does make spring drive look so, so cool. They are really nice the way you see that hand just glide around. I used to own a spring drive many, many years ago, a chrono model, and you never get tired of looking at that hour hand, the second hand. It is just absolutely beautiful the way it glides round. So anyway, as we come past that, the bracelet. It's a screwed bracelet. You do have this kind of oyster style, but with the polished center parts there. The rest is brushed. It is a screwed in link design, so it makes it much easier to change. Now, the clasp, I do have the plastic on here. You do have 4 levels of micro adjustment, and you have the buttons there with the signed raised up section there, which does look quite nice. But one thing I can never quite grasp is why they have such a big gap there. I always look at this and feel like you should pull on the bottom there. Obviously you don't, you just have this section here, but I'm not quite sure why they can't get their tolerances down and just lower that bit down. I think that would make it all the better, because otherwise it's actually surprisingly thick for what it is. You think it would be a little bit slimmer than that, but anyway, there you go. Let me put it on my wrist so you've got an idea how it looks. a quick wrist check. I'm actually wearing a Seiko at the moment. This is the Seiko Black Series Solar Tuner. I've just picked this up actually, and it's really quite cool. I might even do a review of it at some point. And obviously Bob has got the slightly bonkers Ballamross BR03 gyroscope one. I can't remember its true name. So anyway, let me put this on my wrist. My wrist size is 7 1/4 inches. So it gives you an idea how this looks. And there you go. It doesn't, it looks maybe a little bit big there, but you can see the way it tapers in. And to be fair, those lugs do come round quite nicely. One thing I should have mentioned is I like the fact it's got you know, drilled lugs. It makes it so much easier for swapping the bracelet out. I don't know what, maybe a black leather strap on this would look really good with some red stitching. I don't know, but it would look cool. But overall, it does feel quite nice on the wrist. It's definitely got a bit of heft to it. You can feel the weight, but it is quite a cool, yeah, quite a cool bit of kit. Anyway, guys, with that, I'll leave you to it. And most importantly, stay safe out there. Bye.